and welcome into TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. And in today's video, we are going to be looking back on yesterday's win against Villarreal, but with some real significance, really, on that front three that we saw in the closing stages yesterday, on the midfield that we saw also in the closing stages, and why that, for me, is the formula for success with Barcelona right now, introducing those players, sticking with them, having faith in them, and seeing, really, the excitement and the pure potential that can generate. In today's video, it's about Ansu Fati, it's about Ousmane Dembele, it's about Antoine Griezmann, but first and foremost, we start with the man of the moment in midfield. It's Arthur Melo. Let's do this. And I want to start here by talking about Arthur, and I want to start here by talking about his performance yesterday, but not only that performance yesterday, I want to talk now about what we can expect from him in the season to come, because for me, this man is ready to take the world by storm. He is ready here to announce himself this season, just like he started to last season, as one of the world's best midfield players. And I really do mean that, because everything about his game right now is crisp, it's fantastic, it's executed brilliantly, and he looks on the very top of his game in every aspect. And I want to talk here about confidence, because coming over last season, his first ever season in European football, he started so well. He was really exciting there in our midfield, but at times the one criticism maybe you'd have of Arthur is that he was a bit too careful. He was a bit too careful in possession. He would go back, he would go sideways, and I think actually he'd give us so much control, but maybe some people wanted a bit more from him going forward, taking some risks, being a bit more decisive there in the final third. Well, this season you've got what you wanted. This season Arthur can do it all. And I think personally, it's a combination of two things. Number one, it's his second season. He's growing in confidence. He feels now like a real part of this team. He feels trusted in that midfield. And he feels now like he can go out there and express himself more than ever. And the second reason is all about that partner. The man beside him, who I feel has given him a lot more freedom, a lot more confidence. Again, somebody who can allow him to have that freedom. It's all about Frenkie de Jong. Now, I'm not saying that Arthur is going to rely on de Jong if he's not playing alongside him, as he wasn't yesterday for most of the game. Arthur still excelled. But what I'm saying is, with de Jong coming in, the two of them complement each other so well. And I think Arthur has really grown in confidence. He now understands that he can go forward. He's not always going to be the one who's the one controlling things. He can go forward, he can drop back, they can do different kind of things. Frenkie and Arthur together, they can complement each other absolutely beautifully. And what you're seeing now is Arthur Melo really understanding that he's got it all. He can do it defensively. You've seen it yesterday and right the way through the season so far. His tackling has been superb defensively. He looks really solid. His ball recoveries are outstanding. He seems a lot fitter this season. He seems to have a lot more stamina to really get around the pitch and be in the right places at the right time. His passing, as always, is accurate, is brilliant, but now he's taking more risks. He's playing more forward passes. He's playing between the lines. He's doing more destructive things in the final third, and above all else, he's taking some shots. He's taking on some shots so far this season already. He's got 2 goals to his name, and big goals as well. You think about Osasuna, he scored there to put us 2-1 up. That would have been the game-winning goal if we didn't concede at the other end. And yesterday, that turned out there to make it 2-0. It turned out to be the winning goal, and that was a rocket. Arthur Melo right now, he's at the top of his game. He's just 23 years old. This man has so much potential, and he's really realising it right now. And when you're talking about potential, there's one man that you simply have to come onto right now. Once again, Ansu Fati on the channel. We have to discuss this man, because yes, he only came on yesterday for about 10-12 minutes or so, but in that time, didn't he get us excited? Didn't he get us off our seats? And as Barcelona fans, as any sort of fan, that's what you want. You want players who can come on the field, and the second that they step on there, they're trying to make something happen. The second they go out on the field, they're making you come alive. They're making you excited to watch some football. That is what it's all about. Ansu Fati gets you off your seat. Ansu Fati gets you excited about watching Barcelona, and he showed that again yesterday. He came on, the Camp Nou were enthralled by him. He picked the ball up between the lines. He was making some dribbles. He was combining really nicely again with Frenkie de Jong. Those two seem to have quite an unusual partnership, one that was maybe unexpected, but I think it's really nice to see them combining, making good runs. And Ansu Fati's one of those players that, yeah, sometimes he'll make dribbles, sometimes they won't come off. Maybe the final pass certainly isn't always going to be there yet. He is 16 years old. His decision making will improve, but he's that exciting, he's that talented, he's that willing to go forward with the ball, make something happen, that you're almost happy there to accept those mistakes. You want somebody there to go out and prove something, to go out there and make something happen, and he does that. If he makes a few mistakes along the way, if he gives away a few balls, if he maybe loses the balls in a bad area, you're willing to accept that at times because of that X factor that he can give you. And yesterday was just even more proof. This man may be 16, he might be inexperienced, he may still have a lot to learn, but for me, right now, there's no question about it. 16 or not, he belongs in the first team. And speaking of Ansu Fati, the one thing that we have to discuss now is that front three that we saw in the final 12 minutes or so, and also the midfield that we saw, and how that differs to what we saw there for the majority of the game. Because like I say yesterday, we were not convincing against Villarreal. It wasn't really a standout performance from Barcelona whatsoever, but that 10-15 minutes in the final third of the game, that was exciting. That was Barcelona, and here's why. You look there on the left-hand side, this is the average positions of the players right the way through the game that they were on the field. And as you can see here, in that first half, Lionel Messi is extremely narrow. We know that. We know that Messi is going to come inside and play quite central. But also there, when you play Griezmann and Suarez together, Griezmann is going to want to do the same. So what you've got there with Messi, Suarez, Griezmann, yes, you could say that's a lot of goals there in that front three. But what it also is extremely narrow. Very, very centred. And that puts so much pressure on Junior Firpo and Semedo to get forward there into those areas to fill that huge gap that we have in the wider areas. What you'll also notice there is Sergio Roberto, who's been dragged very much wide there in that wide midfield role. He's supposed to be there, an interior. He's supposed to be linking up with Busquets. He's supposed to be linking up with Arthur. But no, because Messi's coming inside and because Semedo, for me, maybe at times isn't somebody who's going to go and exploit that space on the wing, Sergio Roberto is much, much wider than he should be there as an interior player. And so there on the left-hand side, you've got pretty much what we saw right throughout the first half, right throughout there the game, with Barcelona, we're pretty uninspiring. What you've got then on the right-hand side is what we saw when the subs came on, what we saw there in the closing stage of the game, and look there how much more balanced, how much more effective that formation and that structure is for Barcelona with two natural wide players on the field. I'm not always saying we have to have two wide players, but you always got to have one. You've always got to have one wide player out there, no question about it. You look here at Ousmane Dembele out on the right-hand side, you can see there he linked up quite well with Semedo, and also there he doesn't demand Semedo to go past him on every occasion, and I think that works quite well for Semedo as a right back and Dembele there as a right winger. Then on the left-hand side, you've got Ansu Fati, supported there by Junior Firpo, and look there in the middle. Look how much closer Frenkie de Jong is to Busquets, to Arthur. They can combine, they can be a proper midfield trio there, they can control things. And then Antoine Griezmann, you've got to accept there that average position for Griezmann is right throughout the game, so maybe perhaps in the final stages he was a lot more centre and also a lot more advanced. But you can see there, he does get involved in the build-up, because I think we forget that sometimes about Griezmann. Of course, you've got Suarez right now, who does get dispossessed a lot, doesn't really help an awful lot in the build-up, but Griezmann, he's very much somebody who, like Suarez in his prime, can get involved. He can get involved there in the build-up play, he can drop off, he can combine with the midfield, almost at times like a false nine. He'll play it out to Dembele, he'll play it out to Ansu Fati, and then Griezmann can be destructive, he can make that forward run, get into the area, and get on the end of things. But just look how much more balanced, look how much more effective that setup on the right is compared to that on the left, which, to be honest, right the way through the game, in that sort of setup, once again, it was stagnant from Barcelona. It was very, very rigid, it was poor, it was lethargic. On the right-hand side, energetic, exciting, much more Barcelona style. And I just want to finish here by talking about a report that's been published today from ESPN. Basically, they're talking about the squad, talking about the harmony in the squad. Of course, there were concerns about Ernesto Valverde. Of course, there have been concerns from the first team players about the way the results were going. Gerard Piqué, after the game yesterday, even went as far to blame the poor form so far on pre-season. Piqué said that in pre-season, we did so much travelling, we spent so much time on the plane travelling around the globe that we haven't actually had enough training sessions to get us up to speed. But of course, he said we have to take responsibility. What I also want to say there is, ESPN have come out today and they've said tonight, this evening, the Barcelona squad, all of them together, will head to a meal to raise that harmony, to raise the morale in the squad right now, and to hopefully get things back on track. A lot of things will be discussed there, maybe a few things will be gone over, but ultimately it's about going there to that meeting with the squad and coming out the other side of it, ready to meet our expectations for the coming season. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see what happens on Saturday. Coming up, a big test, no doubt about that. Away at Getafe has never been easy. And of course, in the build to that game, I'm going to be coming up there with a lot of thoughts before it. And also, any update at all on Messi, I'll bring it to you. But right now, it does look as though he's not going to be involved. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What did you think yesterday of Arthur Melo, of Ansu Fati? And of course, what did you think there of the way the shape changed as the game developed on the night? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much as always for joining me here. I'll see you soon. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.